I have, in the past, always adamantly avoided reading comic books. I'm a massive MCU fan. I have been ever since 2008 when Iron Man released. I have watched all the shows. I catch all the movies in the theater if I can. If not, I catch them on Disney+. It's a constant thing that I've rewatched and has been an integral part of my life ever since I was a kid. But until last year, when the Hawkeye show came out, I had never, ever picked up a comic book. And I'd always been supremely against it because I thought if I read the comic books, then I would kind of be spoiled for future things in the MCU or maybe have ideas of where it would go. But after the Hawkeye show and hearing so many people talk about the Matt Fraction run of Hawkeye and how much it was based off of it, I kind of broke and read the comic. And I'm so incredibly glad that I did because it is quite possibly the best comic run ever made. And that's not just me saying that, that is a common praise given for this run of Hawkeye. On top of that, I think that it is the perfect comic book that I started out reading, and I think that for anybody that wants to break into reading comics, the Matt Fraction run of Hawkeye is the best one that you can start with, and I want to tell you why. So the Matt Fraction run of Hawkeye ran from 2012 to 2015 and was primarily illustrated by David Aja. And the synopsis of this run is very simple. It begins almost every single issue by saying that something along the lines of Clint Barton is the greatest sharpshooter in the world. He is part of the Avengers, but this is what he does in his off time. And throughout the entire comic run, all 4 series, all 22 issues, is supremely grounded. You're following Clint Barton and Kate Bishop, both Hawkeyes, by the way. Very important that you acknowledge that they're both Hawkeye. Just go about their everyday tasks. Clint pays rent, he does his laundry, he runs errands, he adopts a dog. But he's also, obviously, fighting supervillains. But primarily by supervillains, I mean the tracksuit mafia or tracksuit Draculas that are just these low-level shitty gangsters that are trying to take over this building. And yeah, they're run by Kingpin and Madame Mask, who are a little bit bigger, but all very grounded, not super-powered individuals. So as far as coming into a new comic line, you're not going to be jumping into something that you need to have like 145 issues spanning so many different superheroes over 20 years to understand what's happening in this. You just need to get that Clint Barton is not superpowered. He's really good at the bow and arrow. He's kind of full of himself, and this is what he does when he's not fighting supervillains with the rest of the Avengers. But on top of that, this is completely self-contained and flows like a TV show. Like I said, there are 4 series within this. You have Volume 1, My Life as a Weapon, Volume 2, Little Hits, Volume 3, LA Woman, and Volume 4, Rio Bravo. And every single one of them feels like a season of a TV show, and every single issue within this feels like an episode of the TV show. It deals with one singular issue within this, whether it just be something as simple as Clint adopting a dog and taking him to the vet, or whether it be as big as Kingpin and Madame Mask doing a body swapping conspiracy that S.H.I.E.L.D. is trying to take down. So when you're reading this, it is super easy to read an issue or two and take a break, or just binge read all throughout the entire series. But it all flows so nicely and is contained within this world to where you actually don't need to understand anything outside of this. Now, this is all held on the back of Clint Barton and Kate Bishop. And like I said, this is Hawkeye. But it's not just about Clint. I would say Clint and Kate hold equal parts importance within this because, like I said, they're both Hawkeye, and I love that they do that. It is something, and I'm not going to reference the TV show much, although I do think it is the best MCU show. I made a video talking about that. Please check it out. I think you'd love it. Clint talks all the time about how he is Hawkeye and she is Hawkeye. In his mind, Hawkeye is a title that multiple people can hold, and it just means amazing sharpshooter that helps out the Avengers. But their relationship in this is kind of opposite from how it is in the show. Clint is this, like, really down on his luck, kind of ladies' man bachelor on the prowl, getting up to no good, can't tell him what to do kind of guy. And Kate Bishop is this straight shooter, no pun intended, Maybe a little pun intended. Kate Bishop is this straight shooter that just wants to be a hero more than absolutely anything and kind of keeps Clint in line up until the point where she can no longer take his shit and fucks off to LA, and it's a great line. I will get to that. But the two of them bounce off each other super, super well, and you can read their chemistry and their personality from that. And going back after this and reading some other Clint Barton Hawkeye stuff, Clint never really had a personality, but within the first issue in this, you get so much personality from him. And the first time you meet Kate, you're like, oh, I totally get her. I get their vibe. I understand what they are about. And they're absolutely hilarious. And that's another thing. Comics usually aren't as funny as this. This is an absolutely hilarious comic run. Matt Fraction is a fucking funny guy. And there are so many times that I'll be busting up laughing by quips that in a comic book are hard to get comedic timing down, but in this, every single joke lands from the biggest ones to the smallest ones. But it balances out this amazing comedy with actually some really stellar action, and a lot of that has to do with the artwork in this. This is incredibly unique artwork. I've never seen artwork like this in a comic book. Not only are the characters pretty minimalistic and almost scratch style, I would say, and I'm not an artist, so I don't know if what I'm saying actually means anything. I don't know if scratch style is a fucking thing or whatever. But the way that they use the panels in this are phenomenal. One issue that really stands out to me is the issue that delves into Kazi, one of the villains, one of the bigger villains throughout this entire story that is trying to take down Clint and Kate and helping out Madame Mask and Kingpin. And it is some of the most beautiful artwork I've ever seen. You can read the entire 22, 23 page issue in a matter of minutes because the dialogue is very minimal, but you will spend an hour on it just looking at this magnificent artwork. And that issue is rather different from everything else where, like I said, it's very minimalistic to a point that is needed because it amps up this artistic style when it gets into these amazing action sequences. I don't want to tell you specifics about how the story ends up, where the plot goes, but I will shout out a few issues that you can look forward to if you're reading this. One issue, probably one of the most famous issues out of this run, maybe of any Hawkeyes ever, is the Lucky issue. An entire issue that follows Lucky the pizza dog, Clint's dog that he rescued from the tracksuit mafia. And throughout this issue, you follow him in his quest, and you see really cool ways that he visualizes the world as a dog and how he connects things with smells. And you'll see chat bubbles from the characters in this pop up, and you will see only a couple words mixed in with some scribbles that the dog can recognize. And it is following one of the most heartbreaking issues where a important side character that you grow to love gets shot by Kazi. Again, I'm not going to tell you who. The Winter Friends is really good. It all basically takes place inside like a dream that Clint is having where he is a dog helping out these like superpowered Winter Friends, and it constantly delves into the fact that Clint does not feel like he deserves to be in the Avengers, and he doesn't measure up to them because he has no superpowers, which that is just a huge overarching thing that he's dealing with throughout this entire comic run. Yes, it is funny. Yes, it is very grounded, but Clint throughout this whole run is dealing with the fact that he does not feel like he is worthy of being an Avenger or that he deserves to be there. He feels like he can't accept anybody's help. He has to do everything on his own to try and prove himself, even though so many people are telling him, no, you can handle this. And in this issue, it is really pushed to the forefront, but mellowed out with this goofy art and story of like these kids, animals, superhero fighters. And it's adorable, but deep at the same time. And then you have, well, all the issues of Kate Bishop out in LA. If I was to choose anything for a season 2 of Hawkeye, it would be to follow Kate Bishop trying to make her own name and make herself a private investigator in the LA Hawkeye. And I love all those issues where she goes out there with Lucky and tries to become a PI and ultimately gets so far deep into the investigation of Madame Mask. I won't go any further than that. I normally spoil things in these videos, but not this time because I'm trying to convince you to read this. This comic run, this got me into comics. I'm subscribed to Marvel Unlimited now. I have read Black Widow comics. I've read Moon Knight comics. I've read a lot more Hawkeye. I've read almost all the Hawkeyes you can. I've read almost all the Miss Marvels you can. That'll be my next video on comics, but I don't know when. I was so adamantly against comics before I read this, but it is just the perfect introduction to just rope you into this world and never let you out. So I highly recommend it. If you love the MCU as much as I do, please go read this. In fact, I love it so much that I've decided a year after reading this for the first time and reading it again to make this video, I'm going to get a Hawkeye tattoo. So let's check it out. Okay, so I'm down in my living room now getting a tattoo from my wonderful wife, who just happens to be a tattoo artist, who also does not want to be on camera right now. But I'll show you the tattoo real quick. So this is just the stencil right here. As you can see, it's an arrow that is inspired by David Aja's art style in the fraction line. And we'll check in a little bit and see how it's going. Hello, chiming in real quick. I forgot the tattoos fucking hurt. Alright, I'm out.
Rub-a-dub-dub. Scrubby scrub scrub.
Okay, so far we are done with the outline. Now we are going to make the arrow purple and the rest of the bow black. So we'll check in when it's done or if I'm in a lot of excruciating pain. Coming along real nicely. I got the arrow all colored in. It's looking like a deep navy blue now, but with this ink it turns into a nice purple. And starting to get that bow in now too. And there we go. Finished product. Thank you for watching, guys. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe. Check out my other videos.